What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's just me and Q today, and we're bringing the fifth quarter right back to you. I know you guys
Oh
missed
yeah,
it. We last resumed the fifth quarter, blabbing about the Boston Celtics and the NBA. Now we're bringing it back for the NFL. Four quarters in the NFL, we're adding a fifth. Right here to your local airwaves. Bring it to you. And today, Andrew and I are going to break down the week two of the NFL, what happened, um, you know, what happened, any surprises, something to look forward to week three. We're going to break you down every game just like they do on Sunday Night Football. It's going to be a blast. We're going to have a lot of fun doing it. Let's get it started. Before we do, as usual, we are your number two source for all things sports. If you know, you know. That's what Luke says all the time. He's not here today, unfortunately. Neither is Brian. That's all right. The big two, fifth quarter. Let's get
let's
a
do
move
it.
on. And we're going to jump right into it. Thursday night, it was a rainy evening in Washington, D.C. The Giants battled out with the Washington football team, and Andrew, it was a grind. And it
It
came
was.
down to the end. Penalties killed the Giants. What say you?
Uh, I mean, you're exactly right. Those penalties, they had 11 of them, totaling 81 yards. You don't like to see that.
That's
Obviously, it cost them. Washington got an extra chance to get that game winner, and they cashed in. So, I mean, it was a great game. Daniel Jones, for some reason, he's just automatic against Washington. His
very
first
impressive.
loss against the football team. Um, But he played pretty well. His legs were moving. He was doing very well running the ball. I mean, passing the ball, you really can't complain because he didn't throw any picks. And if Daniel Jones doesn't throw any interceptions, he gives you a good chance to win football games, just like any other quarterback in the National Football League. So, I mean, overall, it was a great game. Daniel Jones, kind of surprising, but I mean, for some reason, he's just great against Washington. Let's see if he can carry that over into week three.
Yeah, I mean, very impressive. Daniel Jones did not turn the ball over a single time. 22 of 32, 249 yards, and one touchdown, no turnover. So we took a step back on the passing yards. Wasn't they didn't pass it a lot. He led the team in rushing. He had 10.6 yards to carry, averaged 9 carries, 95 yards, and a rushing touchdown. Had a long of 46. 46. That was the long of the game for total for both teams, or um, passing and the long was 56 yards. J.D. McKissick. Sorry, that was the long for the Giants. A 46-yard play run by Daniel Jones. So Daniel Jones is proving to be a dual threat quarterback, a very underrated dual threat quarterback. He actually outdueled Taylor Henneke. Seemed to have played so much better, but the quarterback rating says otherwise. Daniel Jones 102.2, Taylor Henneke 99.6. What does that mean? Well, Taylor Henneke threw for 336 yards, and this is a Giants secondary that consists of All-Pro James Bradbury. So excuse me. Adoree Jackson on the other side of corner, Logan Ryan, Landon Collins. They also got the guy Xavier McKinney that they drafted from Alabama 2 years back. The second round, he was the best safety prospect in the draft. So they is a team with a good secondary was supposed to be. They've been toasted. The first two games of the year, second, Teddy Bridgewater carved them up. Washington, Taylor Henneke carved them up too. So we're gonna see next week when they host the Falcons. You're likely going to see Matt Ryan. You're going to see a heavy passing game plan. This is a Falcons team that doesn't have a great run game. So you can fully expect the Falcons to be throwing a lot on the Giants next weekend. Giants, very impressive run defense-wise, 22 carries, 87 total yards rushing for the Washington football team, all on Thursday. So we're going to see how the Giants can take a big bounce-back lead against the Falcons. It should be a shootout. That's the way they're going to win. It's going to be a shootout.
Yeah. And the biggest thing for the Giants is you got to get into the end zone. We were 1 for 3 in the red zone. I mean, against the Washington defense. I mean, you do want to be about 2 of 3 if you're playing Washington, but against Atlanta, one, you're going to have more chances, and two, you should have more times in the end zone. You should be scoring upwards of 30 points against this Falcon defense.
Fully. I mean that's a given. That's honestly the only way you're going to beat this team because the Falcons' offense is actually very electric. And given the way the Niners of the Giants have defended the pass, they're going to be hosting a pass-heavy offense. It's going to be very tough to contain. And that's for the football team. They are heading up to Buffalo, New York. They're gonna play an away game at Buffalo against the Mafia, Bills Mafia. It's going to be very difficult for the Washington football team. How do you think they can somehow pull an upset? They are 7.5-point underdogs. How can they pull off an upset over the Bills?
I mean, it really starts with everything. Like everything around this team starts with defense, and it starts with that specifically the defensive line. They need to get a pass rush on Josh Allen. Josh Allen, another sneaky mobile quarterback. He's able to use his legs. He's strong. He's powerful. So, I mean, you got guys like Chase Young. You got to contain him. You got to make him stay in the pocket, and you also have to get pressure on him because if he has all day, Stephon Diggs, he's a great route runner. He's going to get open. So really you just got to get pressure on them. And then also when Taylor Heineke is under center, you really got to get that run game going with Antonio Gibson and J.D. McKissick. And then you also got Scary Terry McLaurin on the outside, had over 100 yards last week. I mean, he's got a tough matchup this week with Trey White. But I mean, I believe in him. He's a borderline top 10 wide receiver in the league. He's a great route runner. He gets himself open. So hopefully he can do that. And then also look for Logan Thomas. I mean, he's a very underrated tight end, in my opinion. So look for him to get open a few times. That whole secondary for Buffalo is, I don't know if it's very strong outside of Trey White. So look for him. It is?
They had the two best. They got, in my opinion, the Bills have the top 5 safety combo: Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde.
Oh, right. How did I forget about them?
Jermaine Johnson lines up as a side corner. He's not great, but Poyer and Hyde are two of the best in the game.
Yeah, I totally forgot about them.
Going to have tough wiggle room.
Yeah.
I think the key to Washington against the Bills is going to be the run game. The Bills don't have a great run defense. They have their front seven is lackluster at best. Outside that secondary, their defense is very subpar. Look for guys like Antonio Gibson to find some wiggle room, especially with a good offensive line. We're going to move this train forward. We were just talking about the Bills. We're going to stay in the AFC East. Jets hosted the Patriots and lost 25-6. Look at the quarterback matchups. Mac Jones, 186, 22 of 30, completion percentage, completions per attempt, 22 of 30, 186 yards, no touchdowns, no picks, no turnovers, like he did week 1. Zach Wilson, 19 to 33, 210 yards, no touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. Andrew, what do we see from the Jets and Zach Wilson this weekend?
Definitely did get some pressure every once in a while, but some of those picks were just like, what are you doing? Like that pick to McCourty, that second pick to J.C. Jackson, even the first one. I mean, you got a guy right on him.
The first one deflected off of Corey Davis's hands, but
yeah,
it wasn't a great. Davis was open. It was a bad.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I mean, 3 out of the 4 picks were, at least 2 were very ugly. I mean, it was just not the right read. But I mean, kudos to the Patriots defense. They got pressure. I mean, if you have a rookie quarterback coming at playing the Patriots with Bill Belichick on the as the head coach, you're going to struggle. I mean, Bill Belichick just eats rookie quarterbacks alive. So overall, great game by the defense. Really set up the offense well, and the Jets defense was kind of surprising right out of the gate. Mac Jones fumbled. Obviously, it was recovered, and then they couldn't really get a whole lot going to start. But then they sort of started to figure out. Overall, though, it was a great game.
Yeah, I mean, I would say for the Patriots, this was actually, in my opinion, I'm gonna disagree. This is one of the poor played games that I've seen. They've only played 2 games this year. I thought they actually played better against the Dolphins. New England Patriots got, take field position with a grain of salt here, because New England got outplayed passing yards wise, total passing yards, team passing yards. Jets outplayed the Patriots. Mac Jones, 186 passing yards. Zach Wilson, 210 rushing yards. It was the Jets with 152, the Patriots with 101. This was partly because the Jets were setting up the Patriots with short field to work with because they were turning it over so much. But you take away a few of those turnovers from Zach Wilson, this might be a closer ball game. The Patriots had no answer for the run. You have guys like Michael Carter, 11 carries, 59 yards, 5.4 average, and a long of 14. Ty Johnson, 12 carries, 50 yards, an average of 4.2. He had a long of 17. Tevin Coleman, 5 carries, 24 yards, average of 4.8, a long of 17. Zach Wilson had a 10-yard run, 3 carries, 19 yards, 6.3 average. I mean, the Jets kind of carved up the Patriots on the run game. Zach Wilson hit 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different receivers. I don't know what that tells you. if anything, but Braxton Berrios had 7 catches for 73 yards.
Yeah.
So the Jets turned it over, 4 times. That's concerning. If they hang on to the football more in this game, that's the difference maker in my opinion. So the New England Patriots they're hosting the Saints next week. This is the Saints defense is going to force turnovers. I would expect Mac Jones to have his first turnover of his career this coming up week against the Saints. It's going to come down to how many turnovers can they force at Jameis Winston.
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
Jameis Winston could have a Zach Wilson type of game next week. Absolutely. With that Patriots secondary, he can absolutely do that. So it just comes down to how many turnovers will Winston have. Can you force him? Can you slow down Kamara? Expect Devin McCourty to be on Alvin Kamara the entire game. I would fully expect that. That's just a given. This is a Saints team that doesn't have great receivers. They don't have a great group of tight ends. They run their offense mainly through Alvin Kamara. 41. Expect Devin McCourty to be on number 41 for a majority of the game. If not Devin McCourty, then Kyle Duggar. They're going to have a safety always on Kamara. It's going to be a different type of game plan. I always love seeing Bill Belichick kind of battle it out with tough coaches like Sean Payton when he does Andy Reid and John Harbaugh. I always find it interesting because the game plans are always so different.
Yeah. One thing I do have an issue with the New England Patriots is I feel like obviously Mac Jones has only played 2 games in his NFL career.
Right now. Chase Secure Banking is right there with you to help with the convenience to manage your money from the Chase mobile app. Plus, it helps you spend only.
Oh my God! You ever put on ESPN and you start playing a random ad?
Yeah.
That's what happened.
But
And
yeah.
I have my volume up, or else I can't hear you.
Yeah, the one problem I do have with the Patriots right now is I feel like they're not letting Mac Jones really sling the ball. I feel like everything's just 2 to 3 yard passes, and I mean, I just feel like they're getting stuck in some sticky situations in 3rd and longs, and I mean, they're just really not opening up the playbook at all, and it's really frustrating me. I mean, you got a guy like Mac Jones who completes around 70% of his passes, which is pretty amazing. I just wish that, especially in a game where it's against the Jets, you got a lead. I mean, let the kid be aggressive. That's the way he's going to learn. I feel like it was a good situation to do that once they got up a little bit. Obviously, you don't want to start doing that when you're only up a score, but I feel like at some point you gotta let Mac Jones really just expand and move forward more down the field.
Yeah, I mean, look, Mac Jones did have a couple of nice little long passes. He had a good pass over the middle of the seam right to Hunter Henry. There was one more nicely placed dump pass. I think it was Jacoby Myers that was on the receiving end of it. So he has his moments. But what you're seeing from Mac Jones is a very type of what they did with Tom Brady, just get the ball out quick. They're teaching him to get the ball out quick. They're just so Rex Ryan said it best. He said it on Get Up a few days ago. He said what the Jets are doing was the Jets need to implement a Patriots style offense with Zach Wilson, because they open the playbook for Zach Wilson and he threw 4 picks, and he's throwing into tight coverages. He's trying to be aggressive. He's trying to do more than he can. What the Patriots are doing with Mac Jones is that they are implementing kind of like a 10 yards and in little passing scheme where Mac Jones is not going to fire the ball downfield. He's not going to take on that secondary. He's going to play to the open guy and get yards and then that will open up the long game. So while the Jets game was frustrating, the Jets did a good job. Robert Saleh did a great job of game planning to prevent that long ball from happening. They really cut down the Patriots' total yards. And it was frustrating against Brian Flores. But look, the Patriots played in their first 4 games. They played 4 really good defensive coaches, right? They played Brian Flores. He was the Patriots defensive coordinator. He implemented that Super Bowl 53 masterpiece against the Rams. Then they played Robert Saleh, defensive coordinator for the 49ers, that awesome defense a couple of years back. Then they go out. Now they're going to play Sean Payton, one of the greatest coaches of all time. Then they play Bruce Arians, who had who implemented that great defense along with others against the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. So I don't think, Andrew, your wish is going to be granted against the Saints, nor will it be granted against the Bucs. I see this playbook opening up against the Texans. All right, when they play a team like the Texans, and the Chargers and the Jets again, or maybe not the Jets, but when they play coaches that are younger, that are more offensive minded, that's when Belichick is going to open up the playbook for Mac Jones, and kind of exploit these weaknesses in other teams' coaching staffs. That's when I think we're going to see it. I would not expect Mac Jones this playbook to open up for the Patriots, especially against the Saints, and especially not against the Bucs.
Yeah, that's smart not to. I feel like the Texans is a very good week to really open it up.
I can't see Mac Jones having over 250 until the Texans game. I think he's gonna
Yeah.
I think he's gonna burst. So we're gonna move on to the Jaguars game. Trevor Lawrence looked abysmal once again. You know who looked great once again? Teddy Bridgewater, 26 of 34, 328 yards, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. Trevor Lawrence, on the other hand, has thrown 5 picks in 2 games. The other quarterback that did 5 picks in 2 games, that was Nathan Peterman. He was terrible. Terrible. Nathan Peterman sucks. He's a meme. Trevor Lawrence completed 14 of 33 passes, 118 yards, touchdown, 2 picks. The run game did not open up. They did lead the first drive of the game. They went 83 yards on 11 plays and scored on a pass, 25-yard strike to Marvin Jones. And then we saw that play. I was watching Red Zone. We saw that play happen on Red Zone. I said, Trevor Lawrence might have a bounce-back week against one of the better secondaries in the league. And they don't score a touchdown since. And that was the story of the game. Okay, so they got hot on the first drive. Denver adjusted, and it was all Denver for the remainder of the game. And look, Trevor Lawrence, I don't think is a good quarterback. And I said this when he got drafted. I thought he was overrated. He's thrown 5 picks in 2 games. I am not blaming the coaching staff. I am not blaming the receiving corps. I'm not blaming the defense. I don't know why I heard people blaming the defense. I don't know how the Jaguars defense affects Trevor Lawrence. If I was Miles Jack on that defensive linebacking group, and I'm getting blamed for Trevor Lawrence throwing a pick, I'm gonna get pissed.
For sure.
He's sitting on the bench. He has no impact. He's not even there. All right. This is all on Trevor Lawrence. 5 picks in 2 games. They have Marvin Jones, DJ Chark. They drafted a guy from Colorado, Laviska Shenault. He's now hurt, obviously. They have a good run game. James Robinson. They have a good run game. Okay. Trevor Lawrence is showing he's comfortable throwing to his tight ends. James O'Shaughnessy had a touchdown a week back, or I don't know if he might not have had a touchdown, but he had something a week back. He played well week 1. Week 2, 1 catch, 24 yards. It was all Marvin Jones. 6 catches, 55 yards, and a touchdown. Trevor Lawrence is just the run game didn't even open up either. It was just a very bad game played by Jacksonville Jaguars. They played great defensively. I mean, they stopped the run marginally, and they got killed in the pass game. Cortland Sutton 9 catches, 159 yards. But overall, they only allowed 23 points. That's good against the Broncos. Yeah. Against the Broncos, that's not bad. And against especially a Jaguars team that gave up 1 million points to the Texans the week before.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
This is all coming down the quarterback. I'm not blaming Urban Meyer. I'm not blaming that coaching staff. I am blaming the quarterback. Trevor Lawrence was a guy that made a lot of smart decisions at Clemson under Dabo Swinney. That system was similar to what Belichick is doing with Mac Jones. It was short, dink and dunks, use the short game, use ETN, the check downs to impact the long game, where he found T. Higgins, where he found Justin Ross, where he found Amari Rodgers. The deep ball, that was set up. The check downs, the short pass was set up for the deep ball. They're not doing that. They think the deep ball. So they think, and after watching the highlights and after watching the Giants game, after watching the Texans game week 1, it is clear this offense believes that they're going to use Trevor Lawrence's arm and speed on the perimeter with Marvin Jones and DJ Chark to try and back up defenses that opens up the run for their 1,000-yard rusher. It's not working. This is the reverse effect that's happening. He's turning the ball over. That cannot happen. He is the first overall pick. This guy's like the best prospect since he's the best. He's the next best thing since sliced bread. I saw him. I said, I don't know what's so special. He is pretty good at everything. He's not great at anything. Okay, that's the simple fact of Trevor Lawrence. He's pretty good at everything. He's not great at anything, and that's showing, because in the NFL, everyone's pretty good at everything. In the NFL, that he's just an average quarterback, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, less than 50% completion percentage, 14 of 33 is terrible. And I mean, a lot of people, like you said, blame the defense, which is stupid. Blame the system, which is even more ridiculous, because it doesn't matter how bad the system is. Taking care of the football and throwing interceptions has nothing to do with the system. It has everything to do with the quarterback.
I mean, we saw Cam Newton throwing a pick. You think I'm blaming Bill Belichick? No, I'm blaming
No.
Cam Newton. We're blaming Cam Newton
No.
left and right. The quarterback is the guy that throws the picks. Don't throw it and eat the ball up. I'd rather see you get sacked and turn the ball over, right? I mean, third down. I mean, there are different scenarios where that would be a little different. But you know, Trevor Lawrence is this guy who's this freak athlete. He's great with his legs. He has great intuition in the pocket. Why don't you use your legs and scramble? Why don't you try and make a play? Right? Be like Lamar. Embrace your inner Lamar Jackson. Make a play. Do something. But no, he sits in the pocket and he tries to he tries to show off his golden arm. And once he did, he's thrown 5 picks in 2 games. He's thrown 5 picks and I think 3 touchdowns, 2 games. That's terrible.
Yeah, I believe so.
It's just terrible. And he's lost to the Texans and he's lost to the Broncos. Okay. You got to at least beat one of those teams. Probably the Texans. You should have beaten the Texans. You didn't.
Should have. A lot of people have had the Jaguars beating the Texans.
And I thought they were going to too. I bought into Trevor Lawrence a little bit. I'm like, well, everyone's hyping him up. He's got to be good, whatever. No, he wasn't. I was right. I should have stuck with my instincts. Right the first time.
Yeah.
He's just so bad.
Yeah.
And we're going to go to another a bad blowout here. Down in Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, it was a 35-0 Buffalo Bills shutout. Tua Tagovailoa went out early, winds up with a rib injury. He's going to be out next week versus the Raiders. They brought in Jacoby Brissett, and oh my God, was it an absolute disaster. If you watched that game, it was all Bills.
Oh, yeah. And it's not like Josh Allen even had that good of a game.
No.
It's not like Josh Allen was throwing for 5 touchdowns or nothing.
Josh Allen turned the ball over too.
Yeah. Like that was just it was so lopsided. It was just not even like, I mean, just look at Josh Allen. He's 17 of 33, okay, 179 yards, meh, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Like
those are all math for him. 17 and 33. Yeah, that is
exactly
the guy that improved greatly completion percentage. He goes 1 pass over. He goes 1 completion above 50%. Terrible for him. 179 yards, definitely terrible for him. The guy that should be leading the league in passing, given what he's got receiving core. 2 touchdowns, pretty bad for him, knowing Josh Allen. He's got Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley, Emmanuel Sanders. Pretty bad for 2 touchdowns. That's average at best. And then the turn. And, I mean, he rushed the ball 5 carries, 35 yards. I mean, there was nothing special about this performance from Josh Allen. The Bills ran over the Miami Dolphins, just like the Patriots did in week 1. Bills totaling about, do quick math, about 140 yards rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, including a 40-yard bomb from Devin Singletary to start the game. And look, Xavier Howard played great defense against Stephon Diggs, 4 catches, 60 yards, and a touchdown. Emmanuel Sanders didn't do much. Beasley was a non-factor. If you were to tell a Dolphins fan prior to the game, this is Josh Allen's stat line, 17 of 33, 179, 2 touchdowns and a pick, I would have thought Dolphins win this game.
Yeah.
Dolphins lose by 35.
Their run defense was horrific.
Just so bad. Yeah. And on top of it, I mean, 5 total touchdowns for the Bills. It was, and the thing about the Buffalo Bills was that if they weren't scoring a touchdown, they were punting. They were 3 and out. So it was either a touchdown or 3 and out. Right? That was the game. They did 5 touchdowns and like the rest were 3 and outs and 1 turnover in there. And Miami just didn't move the ball at all. So now Miami's got to go play the Raiders next week. You think that's going to go well? The Raiders are 2-0. The Raiders have won probably 2 of their biggest games of the year. This is a walking win for the Raiders against the Dolphins. I cannot wait to see it because my roommate is a Dolphins fan, and I can't wait.
Yeah.
I cannot wait. Enough said about that game. There's really nothing much to be said. Yeah. There was no statement made there. Tua got hurt. You can't blame Tua. You can't blame that horrific offensive line because the Dolphins' offensive line is probably the worst in the NFL. Simple as that. So we're going to switch gears. NFC we had the Niners and the Eagles. And there was the Niners in Lincoln Financial Field in Philly in that crazy den winning 17-11. A low-scoring defensive game for a team that is pretty injured defensively of the 49ers. Jimmy Garoppolo, 22 of 30, 189 yards and just 1 singular touchdown. Jalen Hurts, 12 of 23 for 190 yards, no touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown. And, well, I mean, I would start off by saying when your quarterback leads your team in rushing, that's probably not a good thing. And Jalen Hurts led 10 carries, 82 yards, and a touchdown. Miles Sanders, 13 carries, 55 yards. Kenneth Gainwell, 6 carries, 14 yards for the Birds. And receiving wise, look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. For the Eagles, you want to talk about spreading the wealth? Not a single player in Philadelphia had more than 2 catches. You drafted the guy in the first round. You threw to him twice. You targeted him 7 times. He caught 2 of them. Zach Ertz. What happened to Zach Ertz? He's the tight end 2 on that team. He turned into nobody. 1 catch, 6 yards. Quez Watkins, 2 catches, 117 yards, no touchdowns. I don't know how that mathematically happens, but it happened. He only had 2 targets. A dismal performance from the Eagles offensively. Same thing with the Niners. It wasn't great. It was kind of a crap show game. But how about Deebo Samuel? This guy leads the league in receiving. He is on pace for 2,300 receiving yards. He hauled 6 of 8 targets for 93 yards after putting up a 190-yard show last week against the Lions. I think the Niners have found the number one.
100%.
100%. George Kittle, get out of here. 4 catches, 17 yards. He's really done nothing each of the first 2 weeks. But yeah, you really learn nothing from this win from the Niners. It wasn't great, just like the win against the Lions. Now the Niners go. By the way, the Niners are favored hosting the Packers next week. Don't ask me how. Don't ask me how, because the Packers are going to run them out of the building. It's not even going to be close. The Niners barely beat the Lions. Then they barely beat the Eagles. What do you think is going to happen to Green Bay coming off a statement win against the Lions? Ha. Ha.
Yeah. Yeah. San Francisco is a little overrated at the moment.
No, people have them like fourth and like, dude, in college football, they dropped Ohio State for barely beating Tulsa. They dropped Ohio State below Penn State because Ohio State barely beat Tulsa. Here, the Niners are going up for barely beating the Lions and barely beating the Eagles. They're going up in the power rankings. How was that happening?
Yeah. Aren't they like they're top 10? I think they're around 8.
Pete Prisco had them like 4. Pete Prisco.
Oh yeah, actually, yeah. They're ahead of Arizona, which is beyond me.
They're not even the third. They're the worst team in that division, in my opinion.
I think, yeah, I agree.
I think if they played Seattle right now, Russell Wilson would cook them up because they can't score a damn thing offensively.
No, their offense is dormant.
They can't score a damn. They played the Lions. Boo-hoo. They scored 41. They scored 41 on the Lions. The Lions are a D2 collegiate team defense. That's what the Lions have. They scored 41 on the Lions. That team is the worst defense in the league, second worst to the Titans. Titans defense off. I think Russell Wilson absolutely cooks Niners. Matthew Stafford forget about it. That's a win for the Rams easily. And then the Cardinals have shown time and again now, especially over the last 2 weeks, 2 great wins against the Vikings and the Titans that they absolutely cook the Niners too. That is, the Niners should not be favored against the Packers. They are going to lose. They are going to lose by a large margin.
Yeah, 100%.
If you went and you could find an alternate line for that game and find the Packers favored, you'd probably get like plus 300 odds. Take those.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're talking best bets, you're taking money line and spread. You're taking the Packers.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's your bet. This is your bet of the week. All right. Niners plus, I think, 3.5 or minus 3.5 against the Packers, or you take the Packers plus 3.5 all day. And I think the odds this morning were plus 165 Packers money line. I think it went down to 150. I don't get it. But if you want to throw a parlay in that, you do Packers. The Rams are favored plus 105 money line. Throw that in there. Add a little spread game. You got yourself a nifty little parlay right there, because I can tell you there's one guaranteed win, and that's the Packers. And
that should be the lock of the week.
Should be. We had a great moving on. We had a great game in Indianapolis. The Rams took it 27-24 over the Colts, but it just was a real dismal performance from the LA Rams again. Not again. Just a dismal performance from the LA Rams against the Colts. And I get Carson Wentz is, he's all right. He led the Phillies, Eagles team. I keep saying Phillies. He led an Eagles team to the playoffs, and they eventually went on to win the Super Bowl somehow. And he threw for 247 yards, a touchdown against the Rams. Yeah, but let's look at the LA Rams. What did they do not well? They didn't run the ball well. The Colts took that away from them. But then defensively, to give up 24 points to the Colts didn't run it well. They didn't. They had just over 100 total yards rush. Carson Wentz got hurt, by the way. But you have a guy like Michael Pittman. By the way, T.Y. Hilton is on the IR. So if you're looking at a guy that would shadow Michael Pittman, it would be Jalen Ramsey. What did Pittman do? 12 targets, 8 catches, 123. Tight end Jack Doyle, 5 catches, 64 yards. Zach Pascal, 5 catches, 38 yards, and a touchdown. So it was. I don't think against that Rams secondary anyone should have over 100 receiving yards. If that guy's even close, Pittman, I think first half I saw him, he was like 50-something receiving yards. He was pretty consistent half and half. You get to halftime and you said Michael Pittman's getting targeted. They have no receivers. Jalen Ramsey, you are on him. But Pittman still carved him up.
I mean, it's the NFC West is definitely gonna be competitive. I mean, obviously you got the 2-0 teams. You got 3 of those. You got San Fran. They're at the bottom of the barrel. Even behind the 1-1 Seahawks, like you said, and then the Cardinals and the Rams both had very shaky wins on Sunday. The Cardinals were a missed field goal away from a loss to the Vikings, which would not be good. And then, I mean, the Colts. I don't see the Colts as a good team.
I think that we do need to pump the brakes a little bit on the Colts. They have a good defense. They have a good offensive line. Those are usually like the kind of like the recipe to have a good day, because you don't need a good running back you don't need a good running back if you have a great O-line, because that whoever you put in the backfield is going to find room to work with. They got a good running back in Jonathan Taylor. So I do think with the great run game and a great defense, we do need to pump the brakes a little bit on the Colts. Okay. But the Rams should have dominated this game. You're playing against an injured Carson Wentz. You have an average run defense that actually played pretty well this game. You have a great pass defense that seemed to have been exploited by Michael Pittman. That is concerning when you're going to go play the Bucs next week, because the Bucs have 3 guys that are better than Michael Pittman. So that's concerning as the Rams. If you're Sean McVay, that's concerning, because you're playing a Bucs team that's not going to run the ball on you, because they don't have a great run game. They're going to throw it a lot. And they got 3 guys that are better than Michael Pittman, who put up 8 catches for 123 yards. So we need to knock out some kinks if we're going to beat the Bucs. But I still think the Rams match up well, especially offensively.
Yeah, I agree.
And, we're going to talk about a surprise team here. The Las Vegas Raiders. I should say LA. Las Vegas Raiders. They're 2-0. They've beaten the Ravens, who just beat the Chiefs, and now they beat the Steelers, who just beat the Bills. What's happening here? Raiders win 26-17 in Pittsburgh.
That's not an easy place to play.
That's tough to do when you're dealing with those fan frenzies. Derek Carr once again shined, 28 of 37, 382, 2 touchdowns against one of the best secondaries in the league, against one of the best defenses in the league. They ran it horrifically. Again, leading the Raiders in carries remember Peyton Barber?
Yeah.
He led the team in carries.
Yeah. 52 rushing yards.
Derek Carr, 4 carries, 9 yards. Kenyon Drake, 7 carries, 9 yards. Henry Ruggs, 1 carry, 2 yards. But receiving, to the Raiders took a very, very good Pittsburgh defense. I mean, we're going all the way down to a guy named Derek Carrier, who I've never heard of, who had 2 catches. Darren Waller, 5 catches, 65 yards. He was lined up against Minkah Fitzpatrick for the majority of the game, too. Henry Ruggs, 5 carries, 113 yards and a touchdown. Hunter Renfrow, 5 carries, 57 yards. Throwing to the running backs a little bit. Derek Carr has done – he has been the surprise of the year. What do you think, Hugh?
100%. A lot of people, including myself, saw the Raiders as a 6 or 7 win team or below, because there were a lot of questions about the defense. The defense has played very well. There were a lot of questions about Derek Carr, and he has been the most remarkable quarterback this year, maybe outside of Kyler Murray and Tom Brady, but he is up there with them. And for him to be in that conversation being up there in yards and then also being up there. I mean, how many touchdowns did he have?
2
2? Did he have a pick? He did not.
against the Steelers. No picks, no
Yeah.
turnovers.
So I mean, that's exactly what you want to see from him and more. That was very impressive from him for the through the first 2 weeks. I think that mainly out of this game, the biggest takeaway is they kind of balance each other out with the Steelers. Big Ben is not mobile, and the one reason why he's not mobile and that will kill the Steelers, that offensive line is terrible.
So bad. I mean,
That offensive line, it does not give him any time to throw. You can't count on a 55-year-old Ben Roethlisberger who looks like he's 70 years old. He's going to be put in a wheelchair as soon as he retires from the NFL.
I mean, let's look at what history tells us when your quarterback gets older. What did the Saints do when Drew Brees got older? Well, they drafted a center with the first round pick, and then they signed a few guys. They got an offensive line for a fragile quarterback who ended up playing great. Aaron Rodgers is starting to age. Packers are adding more to the offensive line. When Brady was getting older with the Patriots, they drafted guys. Isaiah Wynn comes in. They're extending David Andrew. They're making sure these guys are tenured and through Brady's stint with the Patriots. Good offensive line at the end of Brady's stint with the Patriots. You look at when Peyton Manning was getting older, especially with the Broncos, they had an offensive line. That's why you got guys like C.J. Anderson rushing out of his mind. He's not even a good running back, and he's putting up these kind of numbers. Same thing with Brady now on the Bucs. They got a great offense. So
they drafted Tristan Wirfs as soon as he came to Tampa.
So the Steelers are somehow thinking, wow, our quarterback's getting older. Let's just get him as many receiving weapons as we can so we can get the ball out quickly. That's not working. Your quarterback's older. He's slower. The stuff is processing to him a little bit slower. And in that time frame, here comes 7 guys busting through your line of scrimmage to take you down because your offensive line is terrible. That's what's happening in Pittsburgh. They need to realize that. Najee Harris, they drafted him in the first round. A great pick, by the way. A great pick. He's not doing squat in the run game. Why? That offensive line sucks. You see how good he is in open space. That stiff arm he had last week was unreal. But what are you going to do when you can't stiff arm 7 guys at once? All right. So these are the issues we're running into with the Steelers. They need to bolster that offensive line, figure out a way to do it. When they were the bad Steelers, they were running it well and they were playing defense. All right. That is how it's. We're talking the bus, right? Jerome Bettis. We're talking about the bus in the backfield. That is Steeler football. Troy Polamalu, secondary, defense, Steeler football. Where Steeler football is not surrounding the passing game. That's not the Steeler football. That's not the Steeler way. That's not the Mike Tomlin way. The Mike Tomlin way is in the trenches. The Steelers have gone away from that. What does that mean? Well, they were first-round exit last year, and they're 1-1 this year. That's it.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Next game. I loved how the games kind of got better as the day went on. Bengals at the Bears. And this was a doozy. 20-17, the Bears ended up winning. It was a good game. It was an underrated game, I would say. It was an underrated game. Just because the fourth quarter was so Chicago strikes first in the first quarter, 7-0. Nothing in the second. It's 7-0 at halftime. Cincinnati kicks a field goal in the third quarter. In the fourth quarter, the score was Cincinnati 14, Chicago 13. That's why it was interesting. It got really good very late. It got very good very late. But it was the Bears that walked out with a victory. Now, one thing I am concerned about is Justin Fields. Just a little bit. He started his career 6 of 13, 60 yards and a pick, 10 carries, 31 yards. It seemed, and the Bengals defense is not good. It seemed like they had it figured out just a little bit. He's going to make his start this week against the Browns. Well, I don't think this is going to go well. I think Justin Fields is a great quarterback. I don't think he's in the right system. Okay? I don't think he's in the right system. I think he needs to be in a system with a great offensive line. I think he needs to be in a system similar to what Baltimore has, where you have a good offensive line, You don't need a good receiving core with this guy. He should be using his legs to find the open receiver. That's how he should be doing it. It doesn't take an idiot to get open. I mean, like, there are bad receivers in the league. Good receivers don't get open on every play. Bad receivers can find their way open every now and then. Okay, not as consistent as good receivers, but they can get open. So I think Justin Fields is just simply in the wrong system. You're going to see a lot of David Montgomery next week. I think he's going to have upwards of 25, 30 total carries because they're going to try to limit Justin Fields' throwing. I think you're going to see Justin Fields with close to 15 carries, kind of like what the Patriots did week 1 against the Dolphins last year. Cam Newton, 15 carries, 75 yards, and like 2 touchdowns last year against the Dolphins. You're going to see a similar game plan to that. But I think the Bears need to kind of embrace, look, this guy's a quarterback, but he's not a quarterback. He's like Lamar Jackson. We need to use his legs more because when he has the ball, he's dangerous. When he's in the pocket stationary, he's not.
Yeah. I mean, let's just put it this way. I'm starting the Cleveland defense next week in fantasy.
Very smart.
I just feel like Justin Fields is kind of getting thrown into it. Yet he has a week to prepare. So maybe this week's stat line was a little skewed, but we just have to see because I mean anything can happen with a rookie quarterback in their first start. So I mean against the Cleveland defense, we're just gonna have to see.
Cincinnati prepares for their first divisional matchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. What do they need to do to pull out the victory?
Joe Burrow. What was it? 2 picks, 3 picks? Three interceptions.
3 picks this week, yeah.
You can't do that against Pittsburgh.
19 of 30 is not bad. 3 picks is.
Yeah.
Chicago's defense had 4 takeaways in the second half. That's got to be limited.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about the Bears. They're going to be at Cleveland. Let's talk about Cleveland for a second. They hosted the Texans 131-21. Not much needs to be said, but I think we need to talk about Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah, we do. Because that guy has been awesome.
Unfortunately, he's hurt. Not playing.
Unfortunately, he's hurt. Yes.
It's
But
story
he's been awesome.
But 10 of 11, 125 yards, and a touchdown before he went down.
Yeah.
Compared to Davis Mills, 8 of 18, 102, a touchdown and pick. Tyrod Taylor also had a 15-yard rushing touchdown. Is this guy crazy or is this guy insane? The only thing that I am going to shoot down the Texans is, my God, can we show a little less bias? Brandon Cooks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 guys in the Houston Texans had at least 1 target. 10. 9 guys had 2 targets on the dot. Well, sorry. 9 guys had 2 targets or less. Then there's Brandon Cooks, who had 14 targets, 9 catches, and 78 yards and a touchdown. Can we show a little less bias? Because I think I know who's playing again. I think I know who's going to be guarding Brandon Cooks this Thursday night. And it's going to be 2 guys on the Panthers. They're going to double team Brandon Cooks. So if you're Davis Mills, we got spread the wealth. We got a good running back. David Johnson is not bad. They traded the guy for D-Hop. 2 years later, he's not playing.
Yeah.
They traded for him, gave away D-Hop. 2 years later, David Johnson is not even playing. That's terrible.
Mm-hmm. Mark Ingram can move too. So
Mark Ingram can move a little bit too. He seems to be the workhorse of the backfield. 26 carries week 1, 14 carries week 2. That dwarfs everyone else in that roster. Philip Lindsay, they get this guy. He's a non-factor. 5 carries, 2 yards. David Johnson, 6 carries, 25 yards. I think we need to see more David Johnson next week against the Panthers. But my God, is it going to be a massacre, especially with no Tyrod Taylor. Carolina is going to absolutely bulldoze the Houston Texans Thursday night. I can't wait. If you're a betting man, -8, Carolina, take it. Money line's like -425. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Davis Mills making his first career start. I mean, let's just say this. When Tyrod Taylor Tyrod Taylor scored 2 touchdowns. Let me just see where he got hurt. Okay, so he's still in the game there. When he gets hurt, it's like 14-14. Yeah. When Tyrod Taylor got hurt, the game was tied. So what happened?
10
Well,
run.
Cleveland Browns scored 16 points or 17 points. Texas scored 7.
Yeah.
Tyrod Taylor has never been losing in a football game this year.
No, he hasn't.
Actually, wait, were they down 7-0? Yeah, they were. Sorry, he was.
Oh,
But like, not really. Like,
yeah.
I can't wait to see him back on the field because I need to watch it. I haven't watched him play. I need to watch him play. What makes Tyrod Taylor special? Tyrod Taylor. God, this thing is so slow. Saints Panthers. Was this a shocker? Because for a team that absolutely blew out the Packers last week, they looked like a crap show against Carolina. What went wrong, Q? My God.
Simple as this. Jameis Winston didn't get the field position that he was offered from the Saints defense last week. He threw 14. He completed 14 passes or 10 passes. I think it was like 10 or 14 or 14 or something. He had 5 touchdowns. Good job. You had great field position. You didn't throw for over 200 yards.
You didn't even throw for 175.
No, exactly.
Oh.
50% completion percentage, 111 yards, 2 interceptions.
And New Orleans scored their first points of the game on a Jameis Winston touchdown scamper in the fourth quarter, trailing 17. Or trailing, what was it? Trailing 17-0.
Mm-hmm.
Went on to lose 26-7. So for a team that scored 38 points week 1, this was certainly a drop off. This is a very good sign coming into week 2, where the Saints are going to go into Foxborough and play the Patriots. You're going to see a lot of different packages, but the key is number 41, Alvin Kamara. Was he off? 8 carries, 5 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my Lord! 8 carries, 5 yards, 4 catches, 25 yards. Led all receivers in catches, targets, second in yards. Fortunately, to little Jordan Humphrey with 1 catch for 27 yards. But this was an awful offensive showing. Jameis Winston, 50% completion percentage, 111 yards, 2 picks.
No bueno.
Not good at all. Sam Darnold looking great and continues to look great. And I said it from the start. He is going to have by far the best statistical season of his career. It's not even going to be close. He is dusting it. 26-38 against the good Saints defense. 305 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Very good. Utilizing McCaffrey well. McCaffrey finally got a rushing touchdown, first one of the year. 24 carries, 72 yards, and a touchdown. A nice little, I think, like 20-yard scamper at the end, 11-yard scamper at the end of the game. And then DJ Moore finally getting into the action. So this is the Panthers team that's got a great receiving core, and in my opinion, their offensive line's pretty good, kind of hovering around average. But with Christian McCaffrey, they get the ball out quick. They always have that check down available. They got a good run game. They have a good defense. Their pass rush has been dominant the next 2 weeks, and they have a very easy schedule going forward. Carolina is very dangerous. Carolina is going to be very dangerous. They get the Texans on Thursday. Stay tuned. We're finally going to see Sam Darnold on national television. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah. And then after that, Cowboys, Eagles, Vikings, Giants, Falcons. You could easily be
They have the best chance to be undefeated of anyone.
Yeah. You have an easy chance of being 7-1 through 8 weeks.
And they're well coached.
Yeah.
They got everything. They got everything.
Their defense has been surprisingly well. Big credit to their defense. Sam Darnold has looked good. I'm very high on Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore. They can be a good duo. And then obviously you got Chris McCaffrey who can do it all. So this offense for Carolina is looking pretty good.
It's looking very good. Another offense is looking very good is the Arizona Cardinals. And that's what we're getting to next. As they host the Vikings. This was the start of like 6 or 7 amazing football games. Like in a row. Well, not 6 or 7, like 5 amazing football games like in a row. And this came down to the wire. The Vikings missed a last-second field goal. I mean, after dropping one to the Bengals, the Vikings looked very good. They looked very good in this game. They came out firing. Dalvin Cook had it working on the run game. Kirk Cousins was firing on all cylinders. Justin Jefferson finally got a touchdown pass. Thielen again went off. This isn't loading for me, but I remember the game because I watched it. Kyler Murray was unbelievable. Again, he had the best game of the year for him. And he was hitting guys all around, using his legs to make plays. This was the Kyler we were seeing at the beginning of last year, For the first half of the season, he was amazing. He got a little banged up, and then he stopped throwing the ball. He stopped using his legs, and then it all went downhill. We need to go back to first half Kyler of last season, where he was using his legs to make plays. Arizona was trailing 14-7 in the first quarter, dominated the second quarter, shredded water third and fourth quarter. It was a tie in the second half, 7-7, 3-3. Ended up 34-33, final tally. And, I mean, looking at these stats, Kirk Cousins was great, 22 of 32, 244 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 carries, 35 yards, using the legs. Dalvin Cook, 22 carries, 131 yards. Offensively, Vikings were average passing yards, but Cousins did throw 3 touchdowns and a good completion percentage. Run game, they were great. As for the Cardinals, Murray, the 2 picks were killer, and they were both very bad throws. But 29 of 36, 400, 3 touchdowns. They ran it okay. They don't really have a clear-cut number 1 back, but I like the concept of Chase Edmonds, how he's kind of embracing this McCaffrey type of guy where he's always in the backfield. He's always making plays. He's doing multiple things at once. Edmonds pulled in 5 of 5 targets for 29 yards today. A.J. Green finally got some action. D-Hop another touchdown. Rondell Moore was the difference maker. 7 catches, 114 yards, and a touchdown. And Kyler Murray just looked overall amazing. That's the final breakdown of that game, honestly. But what are your takeaways? The Cardinals are going to play Jacksonville Jaguars next week. They're in Jacksonville. That should be a blowout. I think consensus is blowout.
Yeah, consensus is blowout.
They're playing against a terrible defense with a terrible secondary. You're playing against a terrible quarterback and Trevor Lawrence. It should be a blowout.
Yeah.
Who do the Vikings play next week?
Let me check real quick. They're playing the Seahawks.
Vikings are hosting the Seahawks. That's right. They are hosting the Seahawks next week.
Tough game.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I mean, they needed that one against Cincinnati so badly.
Yeah.
Because then
they had their chance.
And they're going at Seattle. Or are they might be hosting. No, they're at Seattle.
No, I think they're in Minneapolis.
Oh, they're hosting because they were in Seattle last
year. US Bank Stadium.
Yeah, they're hosting Seattle regardless. That's going to be a tough game. A very tough game, but it's a battle against 2 good offenses. A great offense. 2 offenses with a pretty good run game and 2 offenses with a dominant pass game. So I'm very excited for that game. I don't know about you, but I'm excited to watch that game.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I am very excited because if you're a betting man, you take the over. You take the over on that game. Not even close. It's going to be like a 70-point total. Going to be similar to what they did here. It's just 2 teams with bad defenses, good coaching staffs, good offensive-minded coaches, and just good offense. Overall, great offenses too. And I think we have to settle. We have to chill out on Kirk Cousins. He's not a bad quarterback. I don't think he ever has been a bad quarterback. He's never been crap. People are mad at him because he's not top tier. He occasionally runs into these bad games, but he's a seasoned vet. 10 years in the league, out of Michigan State. He's played under great coaching staff his entire career. He was in Washington, led that team to a playoff, led that team to a wild card seed, right? They made the wild card game one year. They got blown.
Yeah, that was the you like that season.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a guy that has the ability to lead teams to places. And this is a Vikings team that has a lot of talent. Defensively, they're a crap show. I think that's going to be on Mike Zimmer more than anything else because they have a good pass rush. Neil Hunter's a great edge rusher. They have a good pass rush. They have Eric Kendricks in the back. He's a great lineman, one of the best in the league. And then you also have the secondary Harrison Smith. You signed Patrick Peterson. This is hypothetically a team that's got a leader on each line of defense. Yet their defense continues to be disappointing.
Yeah.
So this kind of shows that one guy doesn't pull it together defensively. One guy doesn't make a difference. All right, it's 11 guys on the field. And Minnesota's issue right now is that they bought into the same thing with Seattle with Bobby Wagner and Jamal Adams. They bought into the big names make big plays. Like, that's not necessarily true, right? Yeah, and that's what we're seeing in Minnesota right now. So I'm really interested to see how that's going to play out against Seattle. 2 teams that play very similar. They seem to play close last year. I don't know if you remember watching the game last year, but it came down to the stretch. So I can't watch it. Arizona, like we said, is going to blow out Jacksonville. So that's the start of a couple of great games. Falcons, Buccaneers, this wasn't great. But what did we learn, Q?
We learned that 44-year-old Tom Brady is the after 2 weeks, is the top MVP candidate at the moment. And he's playing alongside top offensive player of the year candidate Rob Gronkowski, 4 touchdowns for 2 weeks. Kind of a bold prediction for Gronk being offensive player of the year, but hey, why not? Brady looked great. He had 5 total touchdowns. He has 9 through the first 2 weeks, which he has never done in his 22 years in the NFL. The Falcons got close, but as soon as they got close, the Tampa defense came with 2 pick sixes, came up clutch there. It was 28-25. Final score 48-25. That's what good teams win that game. Great teams blow it open. They absolutely dominated the fourth quarter, won the fourth quarter 20-0. So,
and like we saw, 2 defensive touchdowns from the same guy. That's always a positive that you can take away, no matter what. Tampa. Enough said about the Falcons. They're in New York next week. That's going to be a close game, but it's not one that we need to talk about much. A marquee matchup: Tampa at LA. Who do we got?
Antonio Brown is out with COVID. He can get back for the game, but Adam Schefter did report that it's very unlikely. But I mean, you still got Gronkowski, you still got Evans, who I've always kind of thought that Mike Evans is a little overrated. I think he's a stupid receiver, just like in the brain. I just think he's not a smart wide receiver. You got Chris Godwin. I think that the Rams are a little overrated at the moment. The Buccaneers are not, so I'm going to take the Buccaneers.
So I think the Rams are a little overrated, at least to what Luke was saying a few episodes ago. Luke was hyping them up, saying this team's going to be great. I think in my head, I still like the Seahawks. I think the Rams are going to win the division, but I like the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks I think the best quarterback is the best. I think whoever team was the best quarterback in the NFC West is the best team. That's debatable, very debatable. But at the end of the day, I think the Rams match up really well against Buccaneers. Buccaneers, their clear weakness is the passing game. Rams' clear strength is the passing game. Rams' clear strength is pass defense. Buccaneers' clear strength is also pass offense. So you kind of clash strengths defensively and offensively, which is what you want as a defense, as a defense. You want that, and then you kind of have opposites as an offense, where your strength is your other team's weakness, which is exactly what you want. So, I mean, obviously the Rams pass with me. Aaron Donald's probably going to be neutralized, but you really can't neutralize that guy. He's going to get to Brady a few times. I think the Rams do have a good shot to pull this off. I think it's a statement win. I think it's one of those wins where they meet again in the playoffs and Brady absolutely blows them to the downs. You ever know? We ever realize that Brady has these games where he'll lose to a team like in the regular season, but then somewhat like the Chiefs. Yeah. Like they'll play him really tight. And he might lose to him in the regular season, but then playoff time he blows them out of the water. That's what That's what happened with the
Saints.
Did they play in the playoffs last year?
Yeah, they played in the divisional round.
Yeah, so happened with the Saints last year.
So yeah, Brady was 0-2 against them in the regular season. Yeah, and that did not matter one singular bit because playoff Brady is the deadliest creature ever known to man.
Yeah. So I think this is one of those games where Brady and you see guys like LeBron do it too. Struggling. He seems to struggle against the Clippers in the regular season, but then come playoff time, he seems really solid. Maybe not against the Clippers because they haven't met yet, but he just seems really solid. So I hate bringing basketball to combine basketball, football, but it kind of holds the same here, where you get these guys kind of just figuring out who the competition is, and then they end up beating the playoffs. So I think the Rams actually going to take this one. It's going to be a close one. We're going to stay in the NFC West because we had the game of the week. Second best game.
Yeah, second best.
I think Seahawks or Rams Chiefs. Which one was or Chiefs not Ravens? Which one was better?
I don't know. I'd probably say Chiefs Ravens.
Titans Seahawks was really exciting.
Yeah. The biggest
Tennessee won. They beat Seattle 33-30 on a game-winning field goal in overtime. So, Angie, you gonna break it down for us?
Yeah. So I mean, obviously Seattle got off to a hot start. I mean, Tyler Lockett's an absolute beast. He's been my workhorse for fantasy. I mean, I did have Derrick Henry, but Derrick Henry in the second half, that's exactly what Tennessee needed to do in order to get back into the game. 35 carries, absolute workhorse, 182 yards on the ground in 3 touchdowns. Julio Jones had a revival game, 6 receptions, 128 yards. That's what you like to see from number 2 over there in Tennessee. And there was overtime was a little shaky for the Seahawks, and Pete Carroll did not seem to like it. He came out in the press conference after the game and said, we would have really liked Russell Wilson in overtime. We would have really loved for him to help out. Came straight from the coach. Would have really loved our Pro Bowl quarterback to help out. You think? 0 for 2, took a sack.
With a chance to win.
Yeah, with a chance to win. But I mean, I will say, as a, it was just a rumor, no confirmed about Russell Wilson wanting to leave. But I mean, your coach saying, "Oh, we really could have used you," in that type of manner, isn't the best thing you want to hear as a quarterback.
No, I agree there.
So,
this is what I said on the podcast. This is why I think Tennessee's going to have a big revival. So I said this on the podcast. They realized at halftime. Mike Vrabel went, our best player is in the backfield. So why are we throwing so much? We're going to play to our strength. We're going to run the ball. And that's what they did. They fed him. He had almost all of his total yards in the second half. They didn't really have much faith in him week 1. They tried to use A.J. Brown, Julio Jones more week 1. That didn't work. They tried to use A.J. Brown, Julio Jones more week 2 in the first half. It worked on Julio Jones. He had 6 catches, 128 yards, but it didn't work so much with A.J. Brown, who caught 3 of 9 targets. Derrick Henry, they put the ball in his hands more. They threw the ball to him 6 times. He had 6 catches, 55 yards. He had 35 carries for 182 yards and 3 touchdowns, averaging 5.2 yards carry. This is the Derrick Henry that you need. This is the Derrick Henry that they asked for at halftime and they got. They said, dude, we have a dragon as our running back. Why aren't we using him? Why are we being fancy? Why aren't we using him? So I think next week, Tennessee, who does Tennessee play next week? Tennessee plays Indianapolis. Tennessee's playing Indianapolis next week. You're going to expect a similar workload from Derrick Henry, and you're going to get it. You're going to get it, 100%. As for Seattle, they're at Minnesota. We talked about that a second ago. We know what to expect. It's going to be a tight one. So we're going to LA we go. Hollywood. Cowboys at the Chargers. This was another great game. It was disappointing. I thought this game was going to hit the over. 2 explosive offenses, and it did the exact opposite. How about Micah Parsons from my Penn State University? Absolutely ball hawking off the edge. Outside linebacker. He was fantastic. He was rushing the passer. He was getting Justin Herbert. He was getting guys. He was getting tackles for a loss. The player of the game. Moved up all the way in the rookie power rankings. And I am going to be the first one to say it for the 20 millionth time. Tony Pollard is better than Zeke Elliott. I said it last year. I said it the year before that. I said Tony Pollard is better than Zeke. He should be the starting running back. And my golly, 13 carries, 109 yards and a touchdown for Tony Pollard versus Zeke Elliott. 16 carries, 171 yards and a touchdown. My golly, was I right? Tony Pollard, and I'm saying this again, Tony Pollard is better than Zeke.
Yeah. That's a very valid argument. Just looking at the 2 quarterbacks here, you got Justin Herbert, you got Dak Prescott, you got 2 explosive quarterbacks who throw for a lot of yards and throw for a lot of touchdowns. But then you look at the stat line, you see between the 2, 1 touchdown, 3 picks between Justin Herbert and Dak Prescott. I mean, really? Like Dak Prescott didn't throw for a touchdown.
Dak
Very
Prescott
surprising.
was horrendous. Yes.
Yeah.
Against the Chargers team, that's not great defensively. It's not great. Patriots beat them 45-0 last year. They drafted Asante Samuel Jr., but he wasn't amazing. He wasn't overwhelming. Dak Prescott threw 4. They won by 3. They had Dak, the guy that absolutely just destroyed the Buccaneers defense last week. He only threw it 27 times. That's it. That's all you got out of him. They ran it. They ran it a ton. The run game was working. But my God, if you were to tell me the Cowboys were going to score 20 points, I thought they'd get 20 piece.
Yeah, I thought so too.
So this is concerning. Next week they host the Eagles. If Dak throws 27 times or less against the Eagles, I'm gonna guarantee you the Eagles win. You can put that on me. I guarantee you the Eagles are gonna win because Dak, that's their strength. And we talked about playing with their strength just a second ago with the Titans, right? The Titans started playing their strength. You know what they did? They won the football game.
Yeah.
The Cowboys playing to their strength. They won because of their weakness. Their defense is their weakness. Happened to have a great game against Herbert. That's not going to stand every game. We know that. 27 pass attempts from Dak Prescott is not a good number. That needs to be higher. That needs to be 35, 40 every single game because what he can do with the football is just spectacular.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
And then we get to
Sunday Night Football.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I didn't really have anything. But yeah, Sunday Night Football.
Sunday
absolutely
night
great game.
My guy, big trust with the dub over the Chiefs, and I love it. He threw 2 picks. That's not great, but my God, did he run it well. And when I say this guy is this is why I think Lamar Jackson is a much better quarterback than people say, because of all the quarterbacks in the league, he is the last person I want to have the ball in his hands. Do you know how hard it is to tackle Lamar Jackson? It was ridiculous. He was running all over the field. They had no idea where he was going. He's getting protection from his offensive line. He's deceiving defenses with the run game, with the read option, with the pass option. He is deceiving defenses. He is one of the toughest guys in the league to tackle. And this is a Ravens defense that is depleted. You could arguably, Dominique Foxworth said this himself, and I agree. Of all the teams that this was Ryan Clark. Ryan Clark said, of all the teams Lamar Jackson has had when playing the Chiefs, this was the worst one, and he won. What does that mean? That means he can carry. There are not many quarterbacks that can carry it. This is why I say Lamar Jackson is just. I think he's amazing because how many So I want you, Andrew. I want you to tell me how many quarterbacks do you think can carry their team? Just like rattle up a few names.
Mahomes, Rodgers, Brady. That's about it.
Do you know what Lamar Jackson did the other night?
Threw 2 interceptions.
No. He carried the Ravens. He absolutely carried the Ravens. Without Lamar Jackson, they lose in that game.
Well, yeah.
They're losing that game by a lot.
So
in my opinion, he's up in conversation with those guys because he can actually single-handedly carry his team because he is so involved in the run game and he is so involved in the pass game. He had 346 yards of total offense and 3 total touchdowns. That's really good. That is 346. That is really good. That is the exact same number. You know how many total yards Patrick Mahomes had? 346 and 3 touchdowns. Lamar Jackson, 346 and 3 touchdowns. And he did it in 5 less pass attempts. I mean, only threw 2 picks. He's not a guy. He only threw 9 picks all of last year. He's going to throw picks. He's not a great passer of the football, but he can clearly carry his offense. This is a team that was depleted at receiver. Don't have Rashad Bateman. The receiving weapons was Marquise Brown, Sammy Watkins, Mark Andrews. It's not amazing, not compared to the Chiefs. Defensively, no Marcus Peters. The guy that judges from Penn State, he is terrible. Cannot get to the quarterback. They don't have a great pass rush. I'm not going to say Patrick Queen is good. They have a good group of linebackers that can tackle well in open space. Their secondary is terrible. And they got burned. They got burned bad. But you know what it came down to that stretch? You know who John Harbaugh wanted? 4th and 1, and the whole world knew this was going to Lamar Jackson. Let's just say Tennessee Titans, they're handing it off to Derrick Henry. They're not letting Brian Tannehill keep it, right? So that's one example. I mean, there's very few examples that it wasn't a great example. But the point being is that there is no one that John Harbaugh wants on the team to have the ball down the stretch than Lamar Jackson. And that's what's the most impressive thing about it. And he finally got his first win against Mahomes. It was a great win. Defense was terrible. Defense didn't show up at all. But Lamar Jackson, with 3 total touchdowns, carried that offense. But Lamar had that team had 4 total touchdowns. Lamar had 3 of them single-handedly, and he rushed.
Yeah. Yeah. So the biggest reason for so the reason why Lamar Jackson is successful is it's a huge credit to John Harbaugh because he is probably the one of the only coaches in the NFL that would believe in him. He trusts him with the entire game on his shoulders. He he reminds him all the time, you are the guy that I want on the Baltimore Ravens. Like he is just the coach. That's the quarterback coach relationship that you're looking for. And they got it. It's one of the strongest in the NFL, which I mean a strong coach quarterback connection that helps you win games. So credit to Lamar Jackson for sure. Um, because he was good that game. I will say that he was good. He's just so dynamic that he just makes life miserable for defenses, and he's so dangerous.
Just so as a quarterback, he touches the ball every play, but he is the most dangerous player on the field with the ball in his hands. Him, and he touches the ball every play. I mean, I'd have a heart attack every time if I was a defender, every single time. Because I mean, look, he's making like jump passes left. He's making jump passes. He's throwing the ball weird. He's throwing it side on. He's fitting it through holes. I mean, he's not a great passer. He's very quirky. It's very unique the way he passes. But like we look at a guy like Christian McCaffrey. He's the best overall running back. Holy hell. He's the best running back. He's the best overall running back in the league. Is he the best runner? No, Derrick Henry is. Is he the best receiver? I mean, he's the best receiving running back, but is he the best receiver in the league? No, not even close. But he can do both at a good level. This is what Lamar Jackson can play. Is Lamar Jackson the best running back in the league? No, he'd be a damn good running back. He'd be the toughest guy to tackle in the league. He can also I see Lamar Jackson as a running back who can throw the ball. He's a running back who can throw the ball. Having that in his arsenal is just it's ridiculous. And it's not like he can't throw it at an elite level. I'm never going to say that because he cannot throw the football at an elite level. He cannot. He will not. Okay, but I'm watching a highlight of him running, and it's just he is fearless. He runs behind his pads. He's got aspects of actual running backs in the way he runs. He can run like he's very aggressive, but he can also pass the football. That's the crazy thing. He can also throw the football, which makes him so much more dynamic and so much more elusive and so much more tough to understand, tough to read what he's doing as a defender because he can do two different things at a pretty level.
It was like if Shohei Ohtani had like a 5.5 ERA.
I would say more like 4 or 5, but that doesn't mean different. It's like, it's just kind of like if Shohei Ohtani had like a 5 ERA, but like that's still good, or that's terrible. That's still good in the realm in terms of the Angels, and it's still good enough to win a starting job. Okay, and it's still good enough to help your team win games every now and then. But when you hit 45 homers a year, when you're hitting 45 homers a year, imagine that. Lamar Jackson in 20 whatever, when he won the MVP, just happened to hit 60 home runs. If we're kind of putting this in baseball terms, he just happened to hit the ball. He happened to rush for 1,000 yards. But if he is a 1,000-yard rusher every single season, and if he can turn that if he can be a 3,000, say 3,500 yard, if he can be like a 3,500-yard passer in a 17-game season and rush for like 1,200 yards, something that's 4,700 yards total offense. 4,700 yards. That's amongst the best in the league. That's very good. And that's something that he is very much capable of having. Plus, you take his pass touchdowns, probably throw 20, 22, 23 touchdowns. Rush for like 5, 10 more. That's like 33 touchdowns. That's pretty good. So we're looking at a guy that you combine passing, you combine rushing, can be very, very tough to take down. Plus, I mean, the thing about being a dual threat like Lamar is he is so dangerous on third. You don't know where he's going to go. That's tough.
Yeah, it was a good performance. You can't hold that back. I mean, you got to give it to him.
Yeah, the Ravens are at Detroit next week. Kansas City is playing the Chargers. That'll be a fun matchup, but it looks like Kansas City should run away with it, just given the way the Chargers played this past week against the Cowboys. It seems like Kansas City should run away with it. Packers-Lions, the Monday night game. This was Well, the Lions got off to a good start. I'll give you that much. They were winning at halftime 17-14, but they got shut out in the second half. They didn't have the steam to finish it off. But Will Brinson said it best. I agree with Will Brinson. Detroit Lions are going to be a thorn in the side of teams all year. Might not win games. This is what I meant when I confused you guys by saying they're going to by saying about the Panthers are going to like compete in games, whatever. The Lions are not going to. I said about the Bengals. The Lions are not going to win games, but they are going to be a pain in the ass.
Yeah,
it's a team that you can't. It's a team that they're gonna outwork you. They did, in my opinion, outwork the Green Bay Packers on both sides of the ball, but they're just not talented enough, and they imploded on themselves with mental mistakes down the stretch. That's the type of team they are. They're gonna outwork you. They're gonna be a pain in the ass. They're just gonna implode on themselves. But I like that. That's a good step in the right direction on a team that's rebuilding, in my opinion. The Green Bay Packers ran away with it. They are at San Fran next week. They're somehow the underdogs. If I'm a betting man, I'm slamming it over. We talked about this earlier.
yeah, that's ridiculous.
The offense was rolling. Aaron Jones had a splendid game. The Lions hosting the Ravens, like I just said, we're looking at that to be a blowout, unfortunately. But just coming off a great win like that against the Chiefs, it just seems like Baltimore's kind of got this.
Yeah,
kind of rolling. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up. Any last thoughts? Anything?
No, I mean, football this year has just been super competitive, super fun, and it's just going to continue to be that way.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait. Right, this is
Yeah.
it's a great NFL season. Not so much for my fantasy team, unfortunately.
Oh, I'm 2-0. Don't sleep.
I think I'm
Come on
1.
now.
But not
2-0 in the two big ones.
I am 1-1 in everything. I'm 0-2 in 1. My fantasy teams aren't doing great. But it's a great year for football. Excited to watch the Patriots. This is unfortunately you missed week 1 post game report, fifth quarter. But we're gonna be here for the rest of the way. 17 more post game episodes we're gonna have for you guys, plus playoff. It's gonna be so much fun talking with Andrew, doing these fifth quarters. They're gonna be so much fun. I wish Luke and Brian were here, but they don't have the patience to. Haha, they don't. Luke doesn't like talking about football, unfortunately. I don't know why. I don't know how you don't like talking about football. I don't know how that happens. Makes no sense. But yeah, I mean, my final thought is go Pats, right? Go Pats.
Hell yeah.
Hosting the Saints. Mac Jones looking to have a breakout week. Hopefully, let's see how he gets done. And yeah, DM us for any advice in fantasy. We're happy to help. If you're listening.
And how about those Red Sox?
How
My
about
goodness.
those?
11-2 in the top of the sixth.
For
Yeah.
all of us on the Big Four podcast, Andrew, everyone else, thank you for listening and have a great one. Peace.